Hi, this is Beth Azor, and this is my podcast, I Own a Shopping Center, Now What? So I had a call this morning with someone who just recently in the last, 7 months, bought his first shopping center. And the purchase price was $3.5 million. And he was frustrated with, I guess they've had 2 vacancies since purchase. It's a center with 10 spots. So 8 spots are leased and 2 vacancies. And he retained the same leasing company that the sellers had used. And he's frustrated. And I asked him if he had an opportunity in the last 7 or 8 months to go to the market. He doesn't live in the market where his property is. So I asked him if he has visited the market and maybe done some canvassing, and he laughed. He said, "Oh yeah, I hear you talk about that all the time, but I haven't done that yet. That's what I hired the leasing agents to do, the leasing people." So I shared with him my philosophy, which is he and his family invested $3.5 million, and he has a 50% loan. And he told me that his spaces were worth, they're 1,200 square feet. And he thinks that the market rent is $30 a square foot. So I explained to him how I feel about this and how I value the vacancy. So I said 1,200 times 30 is 36,000 times 2. And he said he bought it at a 7 cap. So I said, let's just do a 7.5 cap. That's $960,000 of value. And he said, well, he's a doctor and he has a job. And he says, I make $1 million a year and I don't have time to go to the asset and do what you're telling me to do. And I said, okay, I'm not going to argue with him. But basically, if he's not understanding why the leasing agents aren't doing their job, and that's $1 million of value, and another, I think, 70,000 of rent a year for those 2 spaces to get leased. So, I believe that it's really important if you're going to invest in retail that you understand the market, your property. I also asked him, he's got some renewals coming up, and he was asking me my opinion if I thought he should have his existing leasing agents, who he's not happy with, handle the renewals. And of course, I don't think if he's unhappy with them doing new leasing, why would he give them the cherry on the cake, on the renewal? Presumably that the tenants are happy there, but he doesn't even know that. They don't collect sales. And he wasn't sure. He had met them during tenant interviews, but hasn't had a conversation with them since. So this is a situation where I don't think that this family should have invested in this property 2,000 miles away from their home and from their business. Or they should have brought in a partner who could be more involved. And I know many of you that are listening are in this situation and don't agree with me, and you think it's okay for absentee ownership, and all the power to you. Honest people can disagree. But I just think that he should get to the market if he has to take a couple days off from being a doctor. And because he said I said, what's your long-term goal here? I mean, is this one and done? Are you going to sell this now that you understand it's a lot more involved than you expected? And he responded with, no, I want to buy 5 more. So I said, well, then you need to get this one right? So I said, take a few days off and go to the market, interview other landlord leasing agents, interview and meet 5 top tenant rep brokers, meet and spend some time with your existing tenants, maybe meet some of your vendors, but really get to know your property. You could do that pretty quickly in, let's say, 2 to 3 days. And then you'll have your arms around it and you'll feel better about this $3.5 million investment that you've made. And if you want to buy 5 more, you can't buy 5 more if you can't handle the one you've got now, in my opinion. So this is about like focusing on this investment that they made and putting in the time to pay attention to it, and then setting up systems. And I'm not saying SOPs, he can certainly hire people to do that, but just having an idea of going to the market. He's not really sure if $30 is even the rent. The tenants that are paying $30 in his property signed 3 years ago. The rents could be $40 right now. And the leasing agents aren't telling him why they're not leasing it. So I think this guy's got some homework to do on this investment he made. And I told him if he wants to be hands-off, he should have been an LP and not a GP. So curious to hear all of your opinions on this. But this was the conversation I just had this morning, and I thought I would share it with you all. Talk to you later. Hey, listeners of I Own a Shopping Center, Now What? We have done some research, and we have found out that 92% of the listeners are men in the ages of 50 to 70. So what I wanted to do is shout out to all of you. Thank you for listening. But I wanted to shout out to all of you. If you have a wife or a sister or a daughter, I have a conference every year in March called the Women's Real Estate Investment Summit. There are 250 women that attend, and probably 75% of them are investors in all kinds of different asset classes. We've had women that are fix and flippers, women that have invested in storage, hospitality, student housing, of course, retail, and you name it, senior living, multiple different asset classes, car wash funds. And the women in the room, what I do is I interview women that are investors, and then those women go into breakout rooms and do like a deep dive on how they underwrite their deals, multifamily, etc. And a lot of the women in the room have started investing with each other, which is great, which is helping my goal and mission of getting more women to invest in commercial real estate. But if you have a wife, a daughter, a sister, a mother, that maybe you want them to learn a little bit more about the industry, or maybe they're running your properties with you, have them come. It's March 4th through the 6th. We opened registration last week. We've already sold over 50% of the tickets. I highly predict that we will be sold out by year end. Maybe this would be a great holiday present for the woman in your life. So think about it. You can find out all of the information on bethazor.com. Just scroll down to the summit and you can read all about it there. It is life-changing for the women who attend. At least that's what all the testimonials tell me. And this will be our 6th year. So we've really honed it in and figured it out. So would love to see the ladies in your lives come and meet me and talk about real estate investing. Ciao.